Welcome to more Outdoors on News Talk 560 KLVI. This is Chester Moore. This is a very special Friday live from Tiger Creek here near Tyler, Texas. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here in central East Texas, and watching the sunset. I'm looking over right now, and I can see a tiger right there. Matter of fact, there is about a 600-pound Siberian tiger over around the corner. Just heard some lions roar. And yes, folks, you can experience this place. It's awesome. Your Tiger Creek is a place that takes in, various cats and things that have come in through rescue programs. And they also have a thing called the Tiger Missing Link Foundation. And a lot of you have responded to the shows that we've done. We have Terri Werner right here next to me here. We're going to be doing the show from here and talk with her in just a few minutes. But we've had people call in and talk about, they thought it was really neat, the conservation work and things. And before we get going, if you want to check them out on the web, as I know a lot of you listen on KLVI.com, go to tigercreek.org. That's www.tigercreek.org to check out this fascinating facility. I've been coming up here for about 2.5 years. Now, I've been blessed in my life to go to a lot of different places that are labeled as sanctuaries and, zoos and all kinds of places that have animals. This is without a doubt the coolest I've ever been to. The animals are in impeccable shape. Just got through walking around, taking some photos of the cats, and it was just the animals are in great shape, and there's a real conservation ethic here. And that is what I love. A big part of what More Outdoors does is we try to promote conservation and the wise use of our resources and the wise use of God's amazing creatures. And anyone who's listening to this show, I don't care if you heard the show one time or you've heard it every time I've ever done it for the last almost 13 years now, I am passionately in pursuit of encounters with wild animals. And, it's nice. We can't go out, most of us, and go see a tiger in the wild. We can't go out and see an African lion. We can't go out and see a leopard. But you can go to a place like this and get a look at what these animals are. And these places are such a great place, particularly Tiger Creek, for these animals to be ambassadors, for kids that have been in a city somewhere, have never seen an animal like this, and realize they're not just a cartoon. They're real animals, and they have real issues out in the wild. So that's why I'm so excited to be here. Well, not really. The honest reason I'm excited to be here, I just got to see a 600-pound lion. I'm a 600-pound tiger and about a 400-pound lion. So that's the real reason. This is just an excuse for me to do the show from here. But we have such a good time here. Once again, check it out at tigercreek.org. Now, Terri Werner is the facilitator of Tiger Creek here, and she has a real heart and vision for tigers. And we're going to let Terri kind of give you a rundown real quick on kind of the inventory of Tiger Creek. Terri, how many tigers, lions, leopards, and other sort of cats do you have?
We currently have 29 tigers, 5 lions, 2 leopards, 4 cougars, and 2 bobcats. So we got a variety of species from kind of all over the world and native species here in Texas.
It's amazing to see these cats out here. I mean, you can see the run the gamut. You have a few bobcats out there, and you see a bobcat in the wild, you're pretty impressed. That's a pretty big cat. And then you go next door and you see a lion. You're like, oh, my God, you got the whole gamut here. Now, your tigers, of course, or obviously Tiger Creek is kind of your big thing. You're really focused on the tigers. And why is it so important to have kind of this reservoir of captive tigers?
Tigers are an extremely endangered species, and that's really why we got into this. We started seeing that there were so many tigers kind of in private hands, private facilities, and we wanted to make sure that these animals exist for generations to come. And we're losing them in the wild, so these in captivity have to be our backup plan for tigers. And, there's still a lot of controversy within tigers in captivity about if they should be here or not. But basically, we want to approach it from a scientific point. We have gotten animals we've needed to rescue. Now let's see what we can do with these for conservation.
Now, interesting thing to me when I first heard of you mentioned the fact that you had some Indo-Chinese tiger here. And I'm someone, I've been kind of studying big cats my whole life. I remember having a book, I think it was a zoo book, that had all the different tiger subspecies. And I remember you see the Bengal, and at the time there were maybe 10,000 left in the wild when I was a kid. And then you have the Caspian tiger that's extinct. You have these different kind of cats. And the Indo-Chinese is one of the really, really endangered subspecies. And you guys had one, but really didn't even know you had one.
That's right. That was the whole basis of this. Whenever anybody gets a tiger, there's no pedigrees out there for when you rescue these guys. And a lot of them derive from old circuses, zoos, all that kind of stuff. And so no pedigrees came with them. So looking at a tiger, you want to know what kind it is. Well, we participated in the first genetic study of tigers, and we submitted blood samples from different animals. And actually ours came back, one of them, as an Indo-Chinese tiger. Even the zoos don't have very many of them. And so we thought, if we got one just by chance here in backyard Texas of an Indo-Chinese tiger, what else is out there?
Yeah, and that's kind of the interesting thing, is we think of the frontier of wildlife conservation being obviously out in the wild. But we got to face the facts here. Whatever's been going on conservation-wise, whatever good intentions were, it ain't working. The stuff is not working out there. And one of the main problems, of course, you're dealing with third world countries who have limited resources, huge populations, and you have nations like China rising in financial resources. And there's a lot of traditions in some of those cultures of things like tigers being aphrodisiacs for parts of tigers and these various things. So you're having more poaching actually happening now than probably ever. And, honestly, I couldn't blame some guy that's got a bunch of family to feed to say, I'll give you $500 for a tiger head or whatever. I mean, I would like to say I would have that moral compass, but if I'm looking at my child, there's got to be a way that we can try to conserve these at the same time in captivity and reach out, because we may come to the day where the only tigers left are in captivity, and we want to try to restore them somewhere.
The really kind of bad thing is that with tigers and other animals, they are being poached because of their, medicinal purposes. It's tradition to use these animals. Even in Africa, they're still killing lions, the Maasai tribes and stuff, to become, their righthood into manhood. And so they're still, killing these animals, but we have so limited of them now that we have to stop it. The thing about tigers is that they are being poached. They've even tried farming tigers like they would cattle so they can use these parts and not, hurt the ones in the wild. But the problem is they still believe it's the wild ones that carry those medicinal purposes. So once those wild tigers are gone, we've got to have a backup plan for them.
It's kind of sad. I'm looking at my daughter out through the window, and she's had a good time out there. We're like, what does T stand for? Tiger. And she's looking at a tiger and making wolf howls. And she already has an interest in wildlife because of my wife and I's interest in wildlife. But it's sad to think that she's 5 years old, and literally, by the time she's an adult, tigers could be extinct in the wild. It's a sad thought to think that we're at that level now, that critical mass, where we're looking at a species that is iconic. Lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. I mean, the bears are doing fine. The lions are starting to have a few problems in areas because of poaching, but the tigers are in really, really, really bad shape right now. And it's something that is disheartening. But, as people who are interested in conservation, it's time to kind of rise up and figure out we got to do something. We got to start thinking outside the box. So that's what I'm interested in with your Tiger Missing Link Foundation. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about that, how that got started, and what you think some of the goals could be, and how that could benefit tigers in the long run?
Right. Basically, what we started, when Tiger Missing Link Foundation started, we weren't even thinking about rescuing big cats in the United States. We had no idea there were actually a huge need for it. So what we really wanted to know was, genetically wise, since so much DNA was coming out at that time, we wanted to know, can we test these animals to see what subspecies they are? We have 3 extinct subspecies of tigers. And yet we don't know, could some of these cats in captivity carry some of those genes from the extinct ones? Once you do that, we can start seeing what all these cats are related. There's still so much we don't know about these big cats, genetically, just their whole makeup, how they survive, why they survive in certain climates, how they can range from all the way up in Russia, all the way down to South China and stuff. So the Tiger Missing Link Foundation, what we started out doing is wanting to document all tigers in captivity, do the genetic studies on them, and be able to distinguish what is really in captivity for conservation use, or are we missing some links out there that we can start linking them back into the wild?
Yeah, and I think that's key, because you have right now, you have like the South Chinese tiger or whatever. There's, they don't really have an idea what they have in that cat. I've heard 50. I've heard numbers like that low. Bengals, which were last estimate I heard in the turn of the 20th century, there were 1,900 there were 100,000 in 1900, and now there's like 2,000 or something. It's really, really low, and that was the real populous subspecies of tiger. The Siberian tiger, they really don't know, because the vast tiger region of that area of Siberia is so large, and there's a lot of poaching, and people don't really have an idea what's going on there, but they know they were obviously a lot lower numbers than they were before. And you have the Indo-Chinese tiger, and you have things like the Caspian tiger, and there could be a possibility there's Caspian tiger genetics out there somewhere, and I think that's kind of interesting. Have you ever had a cat that you looked at and you just go, we need to test this one because something's different about it?
Actually, yeah, we get some animals in, and you'll see Bengal tigers all day long, but then you see another one that's just like, it's really dark, really different, maybe bigger than the rest. And yeah, you come across these and go, oh man, I just got to do some blood work on them because I want to know what this is. And what they found out through some recent blood work is the Caspian tiger is related to the Siberian tiger. So, just because we as humans broke them up in different subspecies, basically a tiger is a tiger also. Now, they're broken up because of the different regions they're found in, and there'll be different sizes, different color variations. But if we're getting so low in the number of tigers in the wild, say we have less than 2,000 in the wild, do we start looking at a tiger as a tiger? Let's start breeding for genetic health and just focus on that instead of breaking them up into the 5 or 6 different subspecies that they want to.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I've done research on red wolves for so many years, and it's kind of the same thing. You'll have people tell you, well, a red wolf is this. It's exactly what a red wolf is, but they got hybridized with coyotes, so they can't be red wolves anymore. I've actually had people tell me who were in officials tell me, well, the animals people are saying are coyotes because they have wolf blood in them. I said, wait, how can it be a coyote if it has wolf blood if it can't be a wolf if it has coyote blood? How does that work? At some point you have this wild canid out in the wild, and the secret is the way they told the red wolves they used for the captive breeding program were by skull measurements. That's how they found out. That's how they determined. It wasn't genetics. It was skull measurements compared to when they thought before coyotes moved in the region. So you have all these things, and if you're looking at conserving the animal, let's just say that China, for example, that unique subspecies that was right there, they got wiped out. And if 50 years from now you're to reestablish Bengal tigers there, would that really hurt the ecosystem? Or would that bring it back into more of a natural balance, And that's what I think people don't realize, that these cats are part of the balance of nature.
Anytime you take a top predator out of the environment, you mess up the whole ecosystem. And, people right here in the United States, we've taken out the cougar out of a lot of places now, and so people are now overrun with the deer, and then they complain about deer overrunning, and then everything the deer eats, and we just mess up the whole ecosystem. So we really have to focus on that top predator. And basically, if we look that we can protect and keep the tiger alive, basically we can save anything. You save the tiger, we can save anything.
This is the moon mission for the wildlife conservation people. I remember President, I don't remember exactly, but I remember reading in history, and we actually studied history in school, that President Kennedy, when he got elected, he said by the end of this decade we're going to be on the moon. And we were on the moon. This could be the moon mission for the conservation people. Because there's so much money out there that's being spent on conservation and so many good things. But at the same time, a lot of those animals that we're spending money on, in my personal opinion, are animals that aren't nearly as going extinct. Like in the elephant community, you hear so much about the African elephant being poached, the African elephant this. There are around 100,000 wild African elephants. There are about 4,000 wild Asiatic elephants. You never hear about the Asiatic elephant. It's just some of these things, for whatever reason, get picked up by the media and stuff. But the tigers are something that even is low in numbers in there. I just haven't seen the kind of outcry about what's happening about the tiger like you did even the spotted owl in the Pacific Northwest and some of these other things. And the tiger is something everyone can relate to. I have never seen someone. I brought many, many people to zoos and things with me and sanctuaries and things over the years. Get within 10 yards of a tiger in captivity and not be utterly blown away at the beauty and go, wow, I had no idea. So maybe getting an opportunity to see cats at a place like Tiger Creek can give some more of appreciation. And when we come back on More Outdoors, we're going to talk more about Tiger Creek itself, saving the tiger, and all kinds of other interesting stuff you're just not going to hear in other outdoor shows.